Hey guys, I'm Mike Wilkins. I'm a saxophone player and teacher in the New York City area, and I'm here today to review the Sjq carbon fiber soprano saxophone case. So first of all, I just wanted to give you a nice view of the entire case and some of the little features. So here you can clearly see the weave of the carbon fiber and the Sjq textual logo centered on the case. And these latches also have the Sjq logo on them, which is a nice little touch. Here you see the handles, and you see there's two handles mounted on opposite sides of the shell. And that is also how he attached the adjustable strap. Here's the adjustment. You just adjust the size with this buckle here. But the attachments are on opposing sides of the case. Again, so if you ever forget to latch the latches or there's a malfunction of the latches or anything like that, you're not going to drop the horn on the floor. I also wanted to point out the hinge of the case. I really like how he put the leaf of the hinge on the inside of the carbon fiber shells, so you get this really sleek look with just the hardware and the barrel of the hinge visible only. Moving on to the interior of the case, you see the Sjq logo symbol printed on the fabric of that's covering the interior. So you have about 8 inches on each side of the case of memory foam, and it's a real high quality material. It holds the saxophone very well, very securely. When I put the saxophone in the case, I don't feel any motion at all with the horn, no rattling. But what that does with 8 inches of the memory foam on each side, it leaves about 13 inches in the middle for storage space. So of course, as with any case, you can put a soprano stand in the bell. And then I just have these Van Doren reeds that I can put right here, and a second box fits very easily right there under the horn. And this pouch that came with the case, I use it for my mouthpiece and my reeds, and I also have a neck strap in here which I like to use on sopranos sometimes, and it fits very nicely right here behind the horn. And as you can see, it closes up very easily with all that inside. Next, I wanted to talk about my overall impressions of the protection that a bunch of various cases offer. The cases I've had experience with over the last 25 years or so. And compare them to the Sjq. So the first thing I want to talk about is the shell of a case. From my understanding, the hard shell, one of the main purposes for that is to protect the horn and distribute the force of a blow that's kind of a focal point blow. I think of it like protecting if someone wanted to hit your case with a hammer, for example. The shell is going to disperse that force to the whole horn instead of let it hit the horn in one direct spot. So I've laid out these cases kind of in my feeling of not so good to the best in this aspect. So on the very left we have this ProTech soprano case, which I mostly used for my iwi. But it doesn't really have a solid outer shell. It feels like there's plastic plates underneath the outer fabric, but they're pretty flexible. I feel like it wouldn't really protect, or it wouldn't really distribute the force of a direct blow. Also with plastics, breakage can always be an issue. It's great if it protects your horn, but if the case breaks in the process, then of course you're out the money of the case. So that's how I feel about the ProTech. Next to that, I have the original Selmer case that my soprano came with when I bought it maybe 20 years ago. Now, it's got a durable outer shell, which I think would protect the horn in most hits, let's say, from a hammer. But again, I think it's going to destroy the case in the process. And if there's a hole in the case, obviously the hammer could go through and hit the horn as well. So it's just not durable enough and just too easily breakable. And also it doesn't feel like there's a foam inner shell to protect in case the outer shell does break. And I feel the same way about the Hiscox case next to it as well. It's a plastic outer case, and there's not much behind it to support the outer shell. So if a hammer blow got through it, you destroy your case, but also the hammer would get through and possibly hit your horn inside. Now, the next case I have here is the Walt Johnson case, which I've been using for 25 years. It's been through a lot, but it's a great, solid, well-constructed case. I believe it's a fiberglass outer shell. I feel pretty confident I could hit it with a hammer at least a few times before I was able to get through the fiberglass shell. It's really well built, really protects the horn great. The downside, of course, is it's a tank. They're infamous for being pretty heavy. So that's the other side of that coin. Now, without actually hitting these cases with a hammer, I can't say which one would actually be better in that case. And I don't feel like doing it with my cases. But my feeling is that the SJQ is as strong as the Walt Johnson. It feels super solid. I know carbon fiber is a very strong material. Again, I don't have first-hand experience with hitting anything carbon fiber with a hammer, but it does give the feeling that the shell would hold up as well as the Walt Johnson shell in any kind of hammer strike situation. The next aspect of case protection that I wanted to talk about is really regarding the interior of the case. Now, I feel like the interior of the case really has two roles to play. One, it should keep the horn secure just for, daily, whenever you're carrying it, day to day. If the horn is rattling around inside of the case, that's not exactly ideal. It doesn't feel like it's protecting the horn well. And it probably, the more the horn moves inside the case, the more, screws get wiggled loose, keys might get a little out of adjustment, things like that. So it feels more secure to me if it's holding the horn securely inside the case. But the interior also has to balance with that the need to protect the horn and have some cushioning in case of something like a case drop. If you drop the case or your strap breaks or something like that, it's not uncommon for a case to hit the ground from 2 or 3 feet. And in that case, the case stops and the horn might stop, but the keys might keep moving. So you want to, again, taking the horn out of adjustment. So you want to have some cushioning there so it slows the entire horn down and the keys down, at similar rate so that the chances of damage are less. So you see I rearranged the order of the horns here based on that balancing act. The SJQ case, while there are 2 contact points, the contact points are so large and the memory foam really cradles the instrument so well that there's absolutely no motion inside the case. It doesn't feel to me like there's any downside of having the space in the middle where there's no memory foam. So to me, the Walt Johnson and the SJQ are really a tie for holding the horn securely. Now, as far as case drop, the material that definitely feels the best in that case, I would trust the most, is the memory foam. Again, it's like it offers enough support when there's not a need for protection, but it also gives in the case of a very strong force so that it would really cushion out any horn drops or case drops. I feel like the SJQ has an edge over the Walt Johnson in that instance as well. So next I wanted to talk about the weight of these cases. So I got rid of the Alto and the Tenor case because I wanted to compare apples with apples here. So when I weighed the Selmer and the ProTech case, they both came in at 5.2 pounds, so 5.2 pounds each. When I weighed the SJQ case, it came in at 3.6 pounds, which is about 30% lighter. Now with the Soprano, 30%, it probably isn't that big of a deal. But if you think about a 30% savings in weight, which I imagine SJQ has with Alto and Tenor cases as well, or possibly more if you compare it to a Walt Johnson, that becomes more significant and more important. Again, with the Soprano case, I'd say it's more of a luxury, and if it's a luxury you can afford, then why not do it? With the Tenor case, I can imagine, again, I don't have the hard numbers to say this for sure, but I would imagine the savings of weight is very significant if you compare it to a Walt Johnson case especially, which is, in my opinion, of the cases I have experience with, the only one that compares to the SJQ in the level of protection that you have. So whenever we talk about modern manufacturing materials such as carbon fiber, there's a couple of industries that come to mind. We think about spacecraft, we think about race cars, and it's also becoming more and more common in one of my favorite hobbies, which is cycling. And there's a well-known quote in the cycling community by Keith Bontrager, who's a mountain bike manufacturer. And he basically says, strong, light, and cheap. Now pick two. So clearly, if a mountain bike in this case is both strong and light, you can't expect it to be cheap. The SJQ cases are no exception to that rule. So the Soprano case that I've been reviewing, it sells for $1,200. I'm a musician. I know that's a lot of money for a lot of us. So it's not something that everyone is going to be able to just run out and grab. Now, on the other hand, it's a luxury item. It's something that is just beautifully designed. Every aspect of the case is really well thought out, well designed, well manufactured. It's the kind of case that if you like to treat yourself and you have the money to treat yourself, this would be the perfect case for you. It's really something that just every time I put it on my shoulder to carry my horn around, it makes me feel just as proud as I am of playing the horn inside the case. You know, playing a Mark VI is just like the greatest feeling for me. And, now I feel like I have a case to match that same level of pride with my Soprano. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about just again, the attention to detail and some options as well. If you look at the Facebook page, SJQ Case, you'll see some other options, such as the wine-colored, like red wine-colored straps, leather straps, and handles. He has a couple of options for latches, as I mentioned before. And he also uses some other materials, such as Kevlar, I believe it's Kevlar and carbon fiber, probably layered. So those are all interesting options to check out. You can check those out on Facebook. And then also the attention to detail, just how this case was shipped. It's coming from Korea. It was shipped, first class all the way. They said, it might take a week and a half, and ended up coming in 4 or 5 days. It was very, very quick. And then the attention to the detail with all the shipping. The cardboard box was like double thickness walls, really sturdy, really, really clean, beautiful labels, well-designed labels. Everything was done top-notch, even down to the packing peanuts. He included these shipping peanuts that were just like totally unique. I've never seen them before. Kind of space age, kind of modern, and really interesting design. It's again the kind of thing that if you like to treat yourself, it was a fun unboxing, unpacking, and it's been equally fun to use the case. And so if you're the kind of person that likes to treat yourself, I think the SJQ cases are really for you. Check them out. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.